We are gonna be okay, do-da, do-da. We are gonna be okay, oh, do-da day.
I want to know all of me. I want to know every part. I want to see everything that's happened that I've missed these past few years. I want to see every part of me. Because, my darling, you are divine perfection. And every part of me is worthy of being known.
Known, that's always what we have tried to be to us for a Vint.
I know that there's a lot of secrets inside of my brain that want to be known. I know it.
Hello, soul friends. Thank you for being here and thank you for being you. Throughout this film, I share my journey very openly. If mental health topics might be triggering for you, go ahead and click the mute button anytime you see a trigger warning bubble pop up at the bottom of the screen. This first film explores my healing journey from 2018 to 2020. During these years, I could not create new conscious explicit memories, so I actually didn't really remember any of what I'm about to share with you until I created this documentary and gradually recovered fragmented memories and integrated them into my experience. While healing myself from 22 years of chronic traumatic stress and dozens of associated health challenges, I invested full time in 2 case studies. The results of these case studies will be shared in a follow-up film. Anxiety, insomnia, and night terrors began when I was 10 years old. I didn't learn about it until 15 years later, but it was because suppressed childhood trauma was surfacing and secretly affecting my neurobiology. I began experiencing some sort of division within my sense of self during middle school. Implicit battles spiked when I was 14 as high school began. Depression, suicidality, psychosis-styled experiences, and ever-intensifying anxiety, insomnia, and night terrors plagued my everyday reality. I began introspectively journaling about my indescribable experiences between ages 14 and 15, filling so many binders and notebooks with my writings. At age 16, I published my first book, titled The Echo of Thought. Among the poetry's many topics, I often discussed memory loss, identity loss, and feeling trapped inside of myself. I'd like to read one poem titled Self-Discovery. Introduce hesitant smile to the incautious voice within. Meet the dreamer who erases all boundaries, crosses all borders, and desires nothing but the adventurous thrills of falling. The voice, he rounds all fractions, colors beyond lines, cuts all corners. Hold back false fear of meeting the unknown voice heard, for it is a mere echo of thought, resounding from unconscious heart. Anxiety is stressed at the discovery of the self,
as breath gasps, heartbeat rumbles, mind jumbles, thought crumbles. Every end had a start. Seen smile clashes with hidden voice as they form one single being. The smile, so safely sane and separated from evil, will now combine with the insanity of voice. Rise, O you new creation, with identity finally found. Accepted is new reality, and now this being must reach out and shine. As surfacing traumatic stress was mistaken for spiritual warfare, religious trauma developed on top of everything I was already experiencing. The battles continued to intensify, and I gradually developed addictions to self-harm and substances to cope with my painful experiences. I first attempted to end my life by suicide at age 16. During my final semester of high school, at age 18, I experienced a sexual assault. As PTSD intensified, the anxiety, depression, night terrors, insomnia, all this stuff I was already experiencing, my self-harm and substance abuse tendencies increased. I began researching psychology in depth at age 18 during my first year of college. In my first semester of college, I wrote a 15-page research paper about psychiatric treatment for major depressive disorder. During my second semester of college, I took 3 psychology classes, and among the many things I learned was that there was really nothing known about dissociative identity disorder. It was briefly discussed in abnormal psychology, and nobody really understood what it was at all. At age 19, I began noticing something very unique about my memory systems. They didn't seem to line up. There wasn't this sense of natural instinctive linearity within my life's unfoldings that other people seemed to kind of naturally experience. Exploring this, I began writing a book of memoirs titled Known, each chapter exploring a particular life event that had contributed to who I felt like I was at the time. A part of this book project was creating a life timeline. So I had this big long poster, and I had a timeline of my life, and I wrote out little things, each event that had contributed to how I experienced my sense of self, different life events and relationships, etc. During my third semester of college, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder and prescribed antidepressants. Needless to say, the antidepressants did not work, and I attempted suicide for a second time during my fourth semester of college. A few months later, I was diagnosed with ADHD and prescribed Adderall. At the beginning of my final semester of college, I experienced a severe dissociative blackout, and then everything started to intensify. The anxiety, depression, night terrors, the self-harm, the substance use to cope with all of it, it all got a lot more intense. Shortly after graduating college at age 21, I began experiencing disability and homelessness, the implicit battle so severe that I physically could not function, and no one seemed to understand why. At age 21, I began full-time psychiatric and therapeutic treatment. During this time, I also began researching psychology even more in depth, every day spending many hours poring through books and online resources, trying to understand what was happening within my experiences. For nearly 6 months, I was bedridden, my body physically not able to function. Psychiatric medications only intensified things. Therapeutic endeavors proffered no healing results or hope of any kind. From ages 21 to 24, I saw over 100 doctors, tried every treatment in the book, CBT, DBT, EMDR, with many different kinds of therapists, tried every psychiatric medication in the book, including dozens of different med combos. From 400 milligrams of Seroquel to 60 milligrams of Adderall, I tried every medication and med combo in the book. At one point, I was in 3 different types of therapies and taking 21 psychiatric pills a day as prescribed, and still experiencing complete disability from my indescribable battles. At that point, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder with psychotic features and PTSD. During these years, I experienced further traumas, including another sexual assault and losing all of my belongings in an apartment fire that began while I was asleep in the building.
As PTSD intensified, I attempted suicide a couple more times. Despite difficulties functioning in the external world, I continued my psychology research while writing for my blog titled Exploring Existence with a Certifiable Vagabond and continuing to write my book titled Known. My intention was to know myself and allow that process of knowing myself to be shared with the world in hopes that it might help others know themselves too. Introspective explorations were always a big part of my personal journey. At one point, I created a course called Insight, which was an acronym that stood for Intellectually Nurturing Self-Awareness, Identity, Goals, Hope, and Truth. As my internal battles continued intensifying, I began losing the ability to create new explicit memories at age 24 in the spring of 2017. It was also around this time period that my diagnosis changed to dissociative identity disorder, something that I really hadn't learned much about. My research had focused on mood disorders, psychotic disorders, anxiety disorders, etc. I didn't understand about dissociation at the time. As I learned about it, I realized that I couldn't possibly have this. There's no way. I didn't have childhood trauma. That was not something that had ever happened. How could I possibly have this complex condition that could only be caused by chronic or severe childhood trauma? Clearly, there was some kind of mistake. What was happening? And yet, it explained so many of my experiences that my previous diagnosis hadn't made sense of. It began a brand new journey on my quest to becoming known to myself. While psychology had provided general descriptors for the external obvious elements of my experience, I still had yet to find a factual understanding about what was actually causing my experiences. I began exploring neuroscience in 2017. Almost immediately, I started to find answers for what I was experiencing, and I realized that the treatment I was receiving wasn't working because it was not addressing what was actually causing my experiences. And so at age 24, just a few months after being diagnosed with DID, while I was still experiencing disability and homelessness, and I had begun to lose the ability to create new explicit memories, I quit all psychiatric and therapeutic treatments, determinedly deciding to forge my own healing path. If I could understand what was causing my battles, then I could create new ways to heal them. And if over 100 doctors had not been able to offer that, then it was time that I took my life into my own hands. And thus began the journey of a lifetime. I began my first independent research project in 2017. My objective was to understand the underlying causalities of my experiences. If possible, I hope to use those insights to create effective healing modalities to reduce my battles. I actually never imagined that it would be possible to completely relieve all of the battles. This journey was complicated by further traumas, including 2 physical assaults. Nevertheless, I continued. My second case study began in May 2018 when I met Dr. Luka Music. Our goal was to track my healing journey progress and just see what we could learn along the way. I dedicate this documentary trilogy to the me from 2017.
It's really easy to get discouraged, especially doing this completely alone.
So it's just in such a severe state of trauma and anxiety, I'm just, it's survival, it's coping, it's just getting by.
I just don't know how to handle the pain. There's just no answers for this kind of stuff. I don't know how I'm gonna survive this. It's literally not possible.
When you have a brain that doesn't work well and a memory that is, I may as well have dementia most days.
We don't know what to do. The feast aren't working. It's not working.
After being diagnosed with DID, she dove deep into research. The only documentary she was able to find about DID was on Netflix, and it shared the story of a woman in Europe who was never able to discover what had caused her dissociative identity disorder to develop, nor was ever able to cultivate any effective healing. She continued experiencing disability while being on dozens of psychiatric medications. The me from 2017 saw this and feared that that was the only prospective future that she had to look forward to. She felt devastated, hopeless, overwhelmed, terrified, alone, helpless. The me from 2017 just wanted to understand what was causing her experiences and to feel some sense of healing hope within them. And so I dedicate this to the me that I was in 2017. I am so grateful that that courageous woman kept fighting, because it allowed me to be here today in greater health and happiness than I have ever experienced in my life. I also dedicate this film trilogy to every beautiful soul in the world who's encountering unique experiences of consciousness stemming from adverse experiences or any type of traumas. Over 150 million people live with dissociative identity disorder in the world. Over 760 million people in the world live with an eating disorder. Over 121 million people in the world live with borderline personality disorder. 152 million people with trichotillomania. 554 million people with intermittent explosive disorder, 220 million people with body dysmorphia, and millions more with other implicit battles, especially stemming from some kind of pain that has been experienced in life. I dedicate this to you. I am so proud of you for continuing to forge forward along your personal healing journey through life. I am so grateful that you bless this planet with your miraculous presence. You are not alone. You are never alone, and your life is always worthwhile. You are a worthy, wondrous being unconditionally, and no element of experience can ever change that fact about the truth of who you are. I'd also like to dedicate these content creations to any and all individuals in any type of healing industry. From energy workers and chiropractors to everyone in between, thank you so much for being the change you wish to see in the world. To every person who's watching this, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, and thank you for being you. Without further ado, let's explore it.
I'm going to answer every question I have and every question I have ever had.
I really believe this case study could lead to some discoveries that's going to change the world. We're going to be exploring with the 30-something, 38, 36 memory centers in the body.
On a better schedule, so it's at the same time every day. We're really going to change the world with this case study.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
So, with my chiropractor, he's doing a case study on me, and we have been working so far to kind of identify parts of the brain and what parts they're correlated to. It's kind of been his focus so far. We explored how nerves and like different parts of the body correlate with different parts of consciousness.
We did that spin to the right direction. We spun to the right, and it induced severe age regression. And so this opens a whole door of questions, well, if you can induce it, can you reduce it? When I cover my right eye and have my left eye focus after this experiment where I had that piercing headache on the right side of my head, I was not able to read. My ability to read, my ability to focus, my ability to concentrate, my ability to put letters together and make coherent words and then go from word to word and have that make sense, that ability was just gone. There's this very obvious activity here and then a very light pinching sensation there. This could lead to some wild discoveries. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I got knots in my stomach. So we just had a really interesting chiropractic session. We took in more notes than usual, and that led to a theory, a discovery, and we tested it and turned out to be true, and we did an adjustment we've never done before. My
head was not sitting on my neck properly. I specifically experienced the presence of ocean and or the specific symptoms of age regression when we're like working on the brainstem stuff.
It's December 30th, 2018, just for a little time marker.
I know, right? Time flies when you're being crazy.
I just want to say a huge thank you to Bambi, wherever you are, whether you're part of me now or whether you're in the back of the consciousness for a while taking a break or whatever is happening. I just want to say thank you, Bambi. I know you fronted in some of the hardest times. After our most recent trauma, you were the one brave enough to grab our stuffed elephant and ride in the ambulance. I love you. Thank you so much for all you've done, and thank you so much for all that you are. You are precious and perfect. You are whole and complete. You are everything and more. And I love you infinitely. Love all the parts of Kristin's consciousness.
I love you, Bambi. We all love you infinitely, unconditionally, forever and always. We love you.
Over to say?
Alright, so we're gonna start over here. Face down.
Face down?
Yeah.
That one's scary.
Oh, sorry.
Also, I'm more out today, Ocean, because today than usual, because our parasympathetic nervous system is more dysregulated because of the weather.
Yeah, let me tell the camera my homework is to put my right arm up like that and leave my left arm down for 1 minute.
While lying down on your back.
While lying down without a pillow.
Very good.
Can you talk into this ear? And I want to know if I can hear.
That wasn't talking, by the way. Have a seat. Let's check your hearing real quick.
Well, I like this test. It helps my brain.
Alright, we're gonna do this side now, right?
Yay. Whoa. My vision's getting better. That is a trip. That, like, completely ended all the dissociation I was just experiencing. That's, like, huge. Like, that feeling, that switch to get there calmly would normally take hours of dozens of tools that I have. Like, that exact feeling.
So that reminds me of I guess you could call it treatment or home exercise that you're supposed to do for hyperactive kids.
Yeah.
Okay. You get them to study with earbud in only their right ear.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it just forces left brain activity.
Whoa.
Yeah. So might be something worth trying.
I'm watching. Oh my god. I'm watching videos from a case study as I heal from 3 years of trauma-induced amnesia and seeing myself, seeing what has been experienced in this body that I am not consciously aware of is like, oh my god.
I am officially creating a new word, therapization. It's when you befriend yourself and step into the role of your higher self in order to play the role of therapist for the parts of you that are struggling and hurting right now. I'm going to therapize myself real quick. This process has been a lot of inner frustration and a lot of practicing mindfulness, a lot of adjusting our self-judgments towards self-compassion, a lot of dual awareness about what we're experiencing internally and what we're experiencing out externally. You know, this is more dominant. We're trying to stay grounded, so it's back and forth of dual awareness, staying present despite what's happening within my brain and my body. Hello, great, beautiful warrior soul friends. So part of my chiropractic case study is we
we are experimenting with sound in the right ear, which would help stimulate the left brain hemisphere, which is where the going on with normal life self lives. And that's the part of consciousness required for it to help all of the other parts heal. And because there are fewer normal life self parts than there are trauma parts, that side of the brain is weaker, and we need to strengthen it to help empower this healing journey and make all of this stuff possible. And so we were playing with sound as part of the case study. And so driving, I thought, you know, what if I adjusted the way that the sound comes from the speakers? We adjusted it, putting all of the sound on the right side. And I felt this moment of calm and clarity where the going on with normal life self was more present, followed by a really, really, really sharp headache in the back. Just a piercing, absolutely piercing pain right back here, like behind the ear, kind of like an inch back behind there. I readjusted it, and I put it all to the left side for like 2 seconds, and then balanced it back to the middle, and then kind of asked my parts of consciousness what we should do next. And they all suggested putting it to the right, but just a tad. And that's helping us be able to enjoy the music and all be present together, while also helping empower the going on with normal life self without causing pain for either brain hemisphere. So very, very fascinating. I am excited to explore more on this healing journey. Have a beautiful and blessed day, my brave, beautiful warrior soul friends. And I ask myself, can you be fully in this moment and let everything else go? Spending time noticing the minuscule details of the raindrops as they fall on the window, taking time to notice all of my thoughts, feelings, body sensations without creating a response. No judgments, no taking action, just observing. And to just be present with the experience and allow full stillness for mind and body. This pain is really intense.
One day at a time. Stop focusing on where we want to be and focus on how far we've come and all the amazing opportunities we have right now. That is where your power is. Stop giving your power away by looking down the road and getting worried about things that aren't here yet. Stop giving your power away. Be here now. Be present. I am present with my body. I am present with these feelings. I am present with my thoughts. I am present with my emotional body. I'm present with my spiritual body. I'm present with my mental body. I'm present with my physical body. I'm present with my pain. I'm present with my parts. I'm present with my hope. I'm present with my fingers. I'm present with my mouth. I'm present with my body. I'm present with my hand. I am present. I am present with my being. I am present with my life. I am present with this moment, and I release conditions. I don't have to be pain-free to embrace this moment. I don't have to feel okay to embrace this moment. I don't have to feel anxiety-free or depression-free to embrace this moment. Present with the moment unconditionally. That's all I need to be. Kristin Windsor, you don't have to be anything more than you already are to be fully and unconditionally in the present moment. You are already more than enough. You are always achieving what you set out to. You set your intentions because you know the power of your mind. You know the power that you have, and you embrace it. And that is courageous. Every little thing is gonna be alright.
I need to understand.
So it's going right here.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Alright, so
This here?
it's back here.
Uh-huh.
Alright. And look into the mirror so that you can see this hand. No, you won't see yourself. Just look at it and look here and see this hand. Do you see it? Don't look at you.
I'm not. I can't see my hand.
What do you mean you can't see your hand?
No, now I can.
Okay, good. So now that you're looking at your hand, you are now looking at your right hand as your left hand. Okay?
Oh.
Okay. Now, without touching the mirror, so back this hand out.
Oh.
Now, I want you to take both of your hands and do this while looking at the hand in the mirror.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
And now this, but with both hands. And the next one. And the next one. Now make fists. Open fists. Fist. Open. Fist. Open. Fist. Open. Stop. Okay, that's enough. Alright. Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing, but different.
My head hurts.
That's good.
My head really hurts.
What part of your head?
Right here.
Well, we are activating that left brain. So now we're going to do opposite motions. Okay? Now this is going to be crazy.
Okay.
Alright, so you're going to be looking in the mirror.
Okay.
With your right hand, you're going to do this.
Alright.
With your left hand, you're doing this.
So the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Okay. And go ahead and be looking in the mirror while you do it.
I know, right? I know, right? But it's hard to be here.
Well, we can do it later. Like I said, this is a big one.
So, just go?
When you're ready.
Can you say ready, set, go?
All right, remember, you're doing opposites. And go.
Go. I can't do it without looking up.
Okay, well, you have to be looking in here. So try the typing on the table then. All right.
And this one?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to look in the mirror. It doesn't count.
Yeah, no. What's up there, huh? Why are we doing that?
Oh, just spackle.
Well, I was going to that noise.
Your brain is rejecting the treatment. Your brain's like, no, this is a part of your brain you're not allowed to use right now.
Sounds about right, yo. Two. Oh, whatever. No, not go. Oh, this way. And then like that. Here. And then go. That's really hard. That's what mom see if she can do this. No, just make Two. Oh wow, that was intense.
I told you.
I never felt so calm. I'm going to find new treatments for DID. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna make sure of it. It's all part of the journey. And it's scary and painful, but also thrilling. I was really anxious. It's been tough. We've been processing a lot of trauma. And I've been able to stay more present, which has been a blessing. Been able to stay in gratitude, which has been a blessing.
We're on a walk. Everybody say hi! I organized a dissociative identity disorder awareness event in March 2019. My main memory from that day was giving a 15-minute speech and not being able to hear the sound of my own voice because the inside chatter was so loud. My mind and my body were completely disconnected, and I had complete awareness of my inner realities, multiple realities simultaneously occurring through different regions of neural activity that did not have communicative connectivity with one another. And so there were dozens of various realities occurring within me. And those realities were so noisy, if you will, noisy, that I could not hear or feel the sound of my own voice while I presented a 15-minute speech at the beginning of this event I organized. This is amazing. I found case study notes. She also discovered that temporal lobe epilepsy can cause a variety of implicit battles that may appear like mental health struggles, but it's actually associated with a certain type of seizure that's happening unconsciously. Her first experience of noticing the symptoms of temporal lobe epilepsy was on March 19th, 2019, while driving to her chiropractic treatment session. Wow.
Dr. Luca Music and I are doing a case study, learning some profound things. Today we are experimenting with muscle testing, and we're having to break it up into multiple days because it causes so much dissociation, so many shifts of consciousness. He does something to portions of my muscles, and I tell him what I'm experiencing and noticing, and then he wakes up those muscles and that part of the brain and stuff. Because our mind-body connection has developed uniquely and very powerfully, our body is our mind in a way. Parts of consciousness live in the body, and because they have their own consciousness within a dissociative identity, there's minds within the body basically. And so doing different things activated different parts of the brain, activated different neurochemical responses. I passed out at a couple points, like completely just out for the count, nap time, completely crumpled over everything. Through this, we can learn to understand our life experience better. We can learn to communicate with parts better and help them more effectively. And we could even create things that would help, like sleeping and stuff. Because if this can like make me just go relaxed and completely clear mind, completely bliss state, and sleep is really, really hard with this disorder, this could be like really revolutionary. Like a big part of regaining my sanity and power over my life and stuff was finding a way to sleep every night. And if that wasn't an issue, all the other healing stuff would have been much more possible on a day-to-day basis.
We've learned a few things. I'm going to go finish sun gazing, do our sunset meditation, and prepare for an epic moonlight meditation. Never give up.
Whoa, something else happens. Oh my God, this is true. And it feels like I have two different eyeballs with two different levels of vision. This one is brighter and sharper, like it physically has more light. And it's much more sharp and clear, and it's almost like I'm seeing it zoomed in. My theory was that parts are in charge of peripheral vision, and normal stuff is in charge of dead-on things. And that's why when I'm trying to focus, parts keep getting activated by stuff going on over here beyond my control. Man, my brain's like hurting after that. That's a really
well, it's a big one.
right here.
Yeah.
Only right here though. It's very concentrated.
Well, it makes sense. We were testing the prior a little.
This is the first time I'm lucid in a week and a half. Gotta go. I need to. Please go. We found out Abby is 6 months old or 8 months old.
Really? She's tiny.
Yeah, she's so cute. It's funny how the features that we picked up, the facial expressions, the way they smile, the way they walk, the color they think their hair is, it all matches with how I looked and acted at that age. Karen!
if we can move her around and break up some scar tissue that's on her brain, then it'll provide little bits of relief. And you do more and more of it over time, and it all adds up. When you really break it down, the goal of a chiropractor is to remove interference between your brain and your body.
That's the deep breath I couldn't get. My whole brain is getting oxygen. It literally feels like I'm breathing for the first time this week. It literally feels like I'm coming to consciousness for the first time this week. I'm gonna cry.
But why?
I'm just going numb.
Hey, don't forget to breathe. There we go. There we go. Good.
That's the feeling I'm trying to get to, is being able to breathe, and I can never get there. Never.
We just do that until one of her eyeballs just blows out, because that means that side of the brain is done.
And it helps the two brain hemispheres to connect, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it does. That's what it does.
Give yourself a nice hug. Embrace your unique self. Ground with vocal vibrations. Block out the world and prioritize internal presence. Reclaim your power. Befriend your consciousness. It's a beautiful thing.
I am present. I am open. I am flexible. I am willing. I surrender. I am open. I am healing. I am whole. I am already more than enough. I am a blessing. I am a treasure. I release what no longer serves me so that I can stay open to the magic. Magic is all around us. If only we would pause long enough to notice.
And
Yes? Keep breathing through your nose.
you're scary though.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Breath I would normally get to in meditation after hours of work with like every tool in the book.
You're already there after less than a minute.
To take a breath that big, as big as I'm taking now, would have been extremely painful and only even possible after multiple hours of nonstop grounding and meditative exercises.
Let's try it at its lowest setting.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if it's more gradual, I can be more present with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are the head ticks I was talking about.
Is that okay?
Yeah, the head tick stopped. I can see again.
Notes on oxygen deprivation as a symptom of dissociative identity disorder. Dissociative identity disorder would have a sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems with their own separate consciousness, and they're not interacting, not necessarily interacting ever, leading to chronic oxygen deprivation, because every breath involves both nervous systems. So heart rate variability is what needs to be experimented with in DID.
Those chickens are driving me nuts. I've chased them off twice already.
In order to sustain a train of thought, I have to stay present with my physical self. And that doesn't happen most of the time. As soon as I look away from this, I forget who I am. I forget my physical sense of self. I forget where my nose is. I forget where my eyes are. I forget where my head is. And so I start to scratch my head, wondering where it is. And in that process, a habitual habit of unconsciously scratching my skin off of my head. So much that it has bled at points in the past 15 years. I kept forgetting where my head was. And I didn't even realize this until 2 years of intensive trauma work. 5 years into mental health treatment. Like, seeing my body there, I feel sensations in me of like, whoa, what? Just confusion and baffledness and wonder and like fear, disorientation, like a variety of emotions as soon as I see my physical self. And when I move my hand, this motion that I see in the mirror is not the same motion that I see out here as I look at it. This doesn't exist to me. That looks real. It's like the opposite of a ghost. I can see myself in a mirror, but not in real life. When the self could unblend, meaning be present with parts rather than the self being present and ostracizing parts, or the parts fronting and the self being blended or hijacked, or, you know, some level of not present. I'm the captain of my consciousness. I like that. I know, that wasn't even me, so thank you for that. Captain, I think that's how you spell it, which is noticeable through this muscle being activated unconsciously. It's struggling because we're eating. And when we eat, the core trauma comes to the surface in the body. And the whole way that dissociative identity design is that the normal life self never has to know about it. We've spent the past year allowing this core trauma to come to the surface so that we could process it through self-hypnosis. It's been unconsciously surfacing for a long time. But we've been intentionally doing the daily self-hypnosis for over 12 months, over a year. Ouch. Ice on my... Keep ice on my body at all times. Keep me here. When I look at myself, this part doesn't feel like the same person as this, but they're both connected to my face. Before, what was happening was this half of my face would start drifting away from my physical body, and the self-recognition would only take place over here. Now, they look like two different people. I look at this eye, and then I look at this eye, and the recognition is of someone else. In the same physical way that you look at somebody, and then you look at somebody else, and you're unconscious, meaning that your body knows that they are different people. So if I look at my left eye, I don't recognize myself as having a right eye. It looks like there's someone standing next to me. It's almost like someone is reaching up through my body, gripping my organs, tying them up into individual knots, like dozens and dozens of knots throughout each individual organ. And then the hand continues reaching up and has a vice grip on my heart.
I know, right? Yeah, she's like, well, it'd be better if I could recognize my half of the face. And then she's like, shoot, that was judgment. I take it back.
Cause I love you, and we are safe, and everything's okay all around us. We're gonna have a real time, creating new memories together. Even if we can't remember, the memories will still be there in our body.
Making new body memories. Making new body memories. Making new body memories. We're here in Kristin's consciousness. My oxygen intake dropped to 85. I could tell I was unconsciously experiencing traumatic body memories. I've grown a tolerance, so I stay conscious even for this experience. The oxygen intake of 85% and a resting heart rate of 51 to 58. Now I'm at an oxygen intake of 98% with a resting heart rate of 70 to 82. Wow, as soon as I started moving, it went down to 93 for oxygen intake. The second I moved my body, it went to 93 oxygen intake. And it started beeping as a warning. There you go. It's 2:40 in the afternoon.
Because my brain was protecting me from the experience, it never got processed at the time, and that's why it was processed as traumatic body memories. Because at the time, my body's like, no, it's okay. You don't have to know about this. I want to protect you from knowing that is scary. And so at the time, I can't feel it because as bad as it would because I dissociate. But because of that, it was never processed as memories explicitly. So it's not in the past. It's a body memory.
This is so cool. It went from like 50 to 120 and like that. I was right. Parts evolved on top of the neurobiology. Parts of consciousness and dissociative identity evolve on top of the neurobiology of a dissociative identity. The neurobiology is the disorder part. The parts of consciousness is the miracle part. Within that, there are challenges. Beyond the challenges, there are infinite miracles. If I sing instead of talking, I can be an adult. But when I try to speak, I'm suddenly age regressed to 2. Not just 2 years old, but 2, being only able to speak 2, because that's what happens when this Broca's Wernicke/aphasia thing occurs. I forget which one it is, because specification of thought requires language, and I do not have that internally, only externally when I sing. When I stop singing, there is no language with me anymore. I do not know what I am saying, trying to say, sing, 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 stop trying to speak. Anxiety is here with me. Quite literally, the neurobiology only lets me sing when I try to speak. Emotions affect my cognition, my bodily responses like my heart rate. Adjusting the volume and my tone allows me to access different portions of my brain. Different portions of my brain. What a radical reframe. To be a science experiment. What an experience. I get to moderate my own insanity while I sing. Slanted rhymes work too, it doesn't have to be exact, but as soon as I lose the rhyme, I lose my basis, I'm off track. I must keep a rhyming scheme to gain cognition to my brain. I must embrace the gift of sanity, lest I go insane. I understand now, the brain is processing fascinatingly. This direct reality has to do with sense of self, has to do with being here now, which I am not. I only feel a sting. I can't feel my arm or its location in reality, or the fact that one arm is touching the other somehow. I have no mental cognition of that. That is not an experience in my mind right now. It literally does not exist. To be present with my deepest fears, to be consciously witnessing my decades of nightmares. I'm healing my past and transforming my present to pave an evolution of consciousness. And I am present. Presence comes with practice. Presence comes with practice. Avoiding pain is not being present. Presence does not judge. Pain is not a bad thing in presence. It simply is. It simply is a piece of the experience. It simply is. It simply is a piece of the unfolding narrative. It is not my identity. I am much more, I am me. No matter my neurobiology, I am still me. And deep within, I am still free. Vocal vibrations affect our neurobiology, / our neurobiology can be affected by singing. Oh, Bessel van der Kolk, please come work with me. I can laugh and sing, but I cannot speak.
Specific pain in a specific part of my head. It's just everything hurts and I'm dissociating and now trauma parts are being activated. But now that we're separating out our experiences and our self.
So here it's going down because I was in my mind, and while there's an unconscious mind-body disconnect, anytime I'm focused on my internal thoughts, I'm completely disconnected from my body, and my oxygen intake drops like that.
So if I ice directly behind my ears, it cuts through to the pain in the brain.
This is so much harder than I thought. Every time I have an impulse to be close to somebody, it's really because my internal narration or ability to witness my own self has gone. And if I can interact with someone like this, then I can fight to regain some conscious access of my own self. I feel it in my body. My chest and my belly are where I feel these things the most.
Look, it's a miraculous rainbow. It's yellow and oranges. Look at the place I said. I love our sunset meditations. They're the best time ever.
I embrace the everyday magic. I embrace the everyday magic. I choose gratitude in my heart. I choose presence with my parts. I choose gratitude in my heart. I choose presence with my parts. I love this new day. Never seen this one before. I wonder what it has in store. No matter what happens. Oh my God. No matter what happens, I'm grateful to be here. No matter what happens, I'm excited to be here. I just need to trust and surrender. I just need to trust and surrender.
I am a real person, I promise we are. We're real persons, we're real. Even when we don't feel real, we're still real nonetheless. I'm here with you now.
Dissociative blackout notes. Wow. My whole body feels like it's swimming
head to toe. I feel like this sensation is happening and I'm surrounded by a substance other than air. And it is a full body experience. I feel intensive muscle patterns throughout my body, muscle tension patterns. My eyes are wide, which indicates a fold response, which means oxygen deprivation is inevitable, with a combination of sympathetic and parasympathetic responses simultaneously. I'm so grateful I have 7 minutes left of oxygen. I'm going to take these pills and then do an exercise and see if that helps. And having a plan of action already helped. Reconnecting the left and right brain experience through the medial prefrontal cortex is the core of trauma recovery from my perspective. And a big aspect of it is creating new body memories. That summarizes my work really nicely. Good job, you guys. I'm so proud of you. I love you so much. I know it's not cold, but I believe in you so much. Normally, we have a hard time drinking water unless we can feel the sensation of its coldness because we can't feel the liquid fluid in our throat. And so taking pills can be tricky, but I believe in us and I'm here. And we're going to just walk through it one step at a time. We're going to coach ourselves through this. Okay, guys? I love you so much and we're in this together. And we have lots of tools and everything happens for a divine purpose and it's divine timing. And I am grateful that I am where I need to be when I need to be there, and I know I'm not alone. I am God's child. I am free and wild. I'm allowed to be right here. I'm allowed to be right here. Alright, brain emotional experience guided by spirit. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers. I'm so proud of you. Let's just take a nice big breath and we'll slowly move down. We'll slowly move down to our back. Next oxygen treatment at midnight 12:10.
I love you guys so much. You guys are my miracle. And I'm so lucky to have you. Like, literally, luckiest girl alive because you are here in my consciousness with me. I love you. I'm not kidding around when I say that. This entire heart, mind, and soul is passionately, fiery, fascinatingly, wonderfully, magnificently, infinitely in love with you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I desire to spend the rest of my days exploring you and allowing you to explore the world around you. I love you guys. You just discovered something so big. I just forgot where that sentence started. Probably because I was looking for something. My focus was diverted and it caused my working memory access to decrease. I know, I need another minute. It's only been 6 minutes? I've traveled worlds, man. The passage of time distortion is fascinating. Separation and the functionality of neurobiological properties. Protectors. Littles. Self. Regulated. Zoomed in, fragmented. Ostracized. I know, I was trying to think in my head instead of out loud. Like, duh, Kristin. You can't do that. Neurobiologically can't do that. It's a pretty short deck to pace. We can go elsewhere, you know? Because child parts only get a fragmented aspect of the experience, they don't understand the other options that exist within the consciousness or beyond it, including a tuned inness with the body, whereas protectors will be tuned in with all of the body on overdrive and everything is like coming at, I know, right? That's so fascinating. I keep being interrupted by protectors just like getting really concerned, and then like their anxiety disrupts my thoughts through their sensations. So parts of consciousness, I know, we're just going to use sporadic stimulation. I forgot that we don't need to talk in order. DID, autonomic nervous system, division. Central nervous system, division. Fragmentation through traumatic stress during critical
critical periods of brain development.
My neurobiology developed through fragmentation. Due to the stress of the engagement of that fragmented neurobiology, then consequentially, secondary, afterwards, my parts of consciousness developed to evolve the consciousness to compensate for this severe neurological disorder. People said so many awful things about DID, and it turns out it's just a fucking miracle. There's two major aspects to the human experience of consciousness, and beneath the consciousness is the neurobiological body that carries the consciousness. And those two core aspects of humanity are divided. And because the right brain hemisphere is wired in a way that connects with everything and does not have an individual separation, from there, multiple parts of consciousness that can manifest as alternate personality states can develop. Neurobiologically, the left brain hemisphere has the sense of separation, the sense of physicality, the sense of individuality. The right brain hemisphere, because I'm accessing memories of parts, I can't look at myself because self-recognition shuts off, and the anxiety caused by looking at a self I don't recognize causes my brain to shut down even more. It seems we're still losing. They're still switching as much. We're still losing the conscious connection, but we're gaining it back faster.
What affirmations do you need to hear? We're gonna do some EFT tapping with melodic mantras. We're allowed to transcend and feel ever so wild. We're allowed to embrace this new consciousness within. We're allowed to walk around with a faithful, trusting grin. We're allowed to see the beauty in everything around. We're allowed to see the chaos as something so profound. We're allowed to see each moment as a grand opportunity. We're allowed to embrace this new sense of freedom and humanity. We're allowed to feel safe in the world that we live in. We're allowed to walk around with this faithful, trusting grin. We're allowed. We're allowed. We're allowed to feel safe right where we are. I'm confronting some memories that really terrify me because of the neurobiology that was occurring beyond my awareness. It feels scary to share this, even to myself, because I feel like someone else. I don't have a sense of self. I don't know who I am. When I feel fear, my brain shuts down, and I don't know where I stand. I don't know what is happening, and that is why I have to sing, because language doesn't come naturally. I have to flow with everything I don't know in order to create a brand new fate. I love you, 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 I love you. I am safe, you are safe, we are safe. I am safe, you are safe, we are safe. I am safe, you are safe, we are safe. I am safe, you are safe, we are safe. I embrace my imperfections because I know they hold beauty. I embrace my imperfections because I know they hold the key to unlocking the secrets of mental health and how to evolve all of humanity. So it caused anxiety because my neurology was playing tricks on me. But no doctor in the world could explain what was happening to my brain. And so I forged a brand new path. If I don't witness my own self,
I become someone else because the sense of self shuts down. Creates dissociation profound, designed to save my poor dear soul from breaking, acknowledging its mishold. But we're dispelling all darkness to create new consciousness. As we embrace experience as a teacher in every moment, I felt called to change the world. Personal power to heal the world. I want to give every boy and girl so much hope within their heart that they can brave a brand new start, become the you they want to be, and help the world feel more free by just being their authentic self and not daring to be someone else. Because authenticity is power, vulnerability connects us all. And when we're together, we are much stronger. We're the rainbow of it all. My mind is so just riddled with anxieties and things, but I can be here through it. Here's our poster from tonight. This is what we wrote just now. Where your identity is the center, the I, where it's calm, and then around you all of this experience is happening, but that's not who you are. That your experience and your identity are entirely separate concepts. Energy. Here's a 3-step response. This is how unicorns respond to stress. # Mosaic Mind Pride. Step 1, remember who you are. Ground in your identity. Step 2, let it go. Let go of control, surrender, just let go of the stress, let go of the worry, let go of the need to figure things out. Let it go. Release the trauma from your body, release the tension from your body, let your body shake after doing some trauma release exercises, go meditate, go dive into nature, go deep breathe forever. Step 3 is replenish your energy, because that is your identity and it is your power. And stress and worry can really deplete that energy. And so how can you rise up to be your, amazing self and transcend these things when the energy system itself is like...
So right before I leave, I just want to sing and let you know that you are loved from angels above and from my heart and soul within. That's why I've got this cheeky grin, cause I love spending time with you. It is sheepishly true, because I love you.
Alright, just describe what's happening and don't over-identify with it and don't summarize and don't respond to the experience other than describing it. That's it. Just observing. I'm observing my entire life change before my eyes.
Picking my scab with my left hand, that means I'm having an emotional sensation that's causing dissociation. Rather than focusing on what I'm describing, because that's when emotions come in, because I think of it as something of mine, I can focus on giving language to the experience of parts. So for the past 1.5 years, potentially longer, whenever an airplane flies overhead, the vibrations from the sky, it would unconsciously activate the dorsal vagus collapse, otherwise known as the traumatic fold response. My physical body would pick up that vibrational frequency. I could feel it in my feet. I could feel it in my physical body. It would cause oxygen deprivation. It would cause a shutdown of my frontal lobe, or of the frontal lobes of my parts. It would cause just all sorts of really intensive things. My conscious trains of thought would stop completely, and unconscious trains of thought that I could not consciously observe or respond to took over. Full command, full control of the system itself. And it was just a very terrifying time. And this incident would also invoke age regression every time. And so the experience of my parts would become completely right-brained. Everything becomes implicit projections, but because I have so much trauma trapped within my bodily system, the implicit projections were just horrendous. Just absolutely terrifying on the deepest level of the soul imaginable. And then I'd be stuck in that state until I found a way out, which sometimes... there we go.
which sometimes took like 8 to 12 hours. Sometimes it was a few days. I want to jump and dance for joy, but I'm afraid that would dysregulate my nervous system, so I'm just going to share a verbal celebration instead. What a transcendent time to be alive. If we knew the way our minds actually worked, we would have so much more power, and we wouldn't be so careless with our power. This kind of knowledge allows human beings to transcend their present reality. This level of insight can allow for personal power to be reclaimed regardless of the circumstance. Now is the time to awaken. Now is the time to choose consciousness. And so if we can understand this self-state, this self-energy place of self-identity with personal power, and understand these elements of our subconscious parts and understand these elements of our unconscious states, we have power. We have power over our health. We have power over our perspectives. We have power over our energy. We have power over the way our life goes, over the way that we react to things, over the way things unfold. And if everyone had power, there wouldn't be the level of trauma that I personally have experienced and so many other people are experiencing. There wouldn't be this level of dissatisfaction. There wouldn't be depression and suicide on the rise. Instead, there would just be beings of light and love stepping into their purpose in every given moment, just sharing that love and light infinitely. And by exploring consciousness, we get to embrace that on a deeper level. I'm so thankful that airplanes do not cause a collapse of my consciousness anymore, and I'm so grateful for that knowledge, and I'm grateful for the courage of my parts to get me through to gain that knowledge. And I'm grateful that the story is changing and transforming and transcending, and that things are ever improving, and that the best is yet to come, and that the things that are coming are so great they fill my heart with infinite hope. Love our sunset meditations. Memories are growing just like us every night, every day. They're undergoing new data input and a new rewiring of what was already there. That's the other thing with DID that I find thoroughly fascinating. When I try to own my story and what I've been through, it doesn't work. Because if I wasn't consciously, explicitly, lucidly there to experience these things in the first place, I can't just go back and be like, yeah, that happened. There's no connections in my brain to prove that, and telling me something that my brain doesn't know to be true is anxiety provoking in my body.
I recognize myself here, but not here. I no longer recognize myself. And now there's body memories being activated. But I'll be standing here while the world turns away. Congratulations! Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. Look, friends, it's you. All our different parts are coming around to each other, exposing, exploring, empowering our own little worlds. I love you guys so fucking much. Thank you for being you. Thank you for carrying me through. Thank you for daring to believe. Thank you for striving to achieve. Thank you for knowing that transformation is always possible. Thank you for leading me home to myself. When that bird's chirping and I'm just focusing on being, I can manage my brainwave state. But when I try to focus, I can't tolerate the noise anymore because they're being processed separately. And I feel tensions when that happens here from a flight part, and then it goes down here into these muscles over here.
So you know how when you get dizzy, you get nauseous?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
It's completely connected. It is why.
That's the exact feeling when I try to sit forward in the car. And I can't do it. I have to sit backwards, laying down.
The world is just as scary as I thought it was, but your love makes me braver still.
That's vagus.
The vagus nerve is what communicates that dizziness or that kind of panic or anxiety or something like that to the guts.
If it's from overcoupling with that, like, I don't know how to rewire the part of my brain. This car rides have never been so challenging. Yeah, we all have different hormones.
Well, we all have the same hormone.
No, me and my parts
Oh, I see.
experience different hormones. We figured that.
it felt like all hell was breaking loose from the inside out. There's no specific way to describe it. Back in the day, I would have described it as like a psychotic episode, but I know that that's not what it is. It was very physical, but it was from the inside out where I didn't know what was going on. My brain didn't know what was going on.
We've been sleeping better. It's been a week or two, and it's all natural.
Eating a rainbow. My age regressive states of consciousness literally are in the neural pathways that formed during early childhood. In certain states of consciousness, my entire consciousness, moment by moment, is pulling its data from neural pathways that are from a long time ago rather than recent neural pathways. Neurons that fire together wire together. And if neurons aren't firing together, then they're firing apart. And I think that's how multiple states of consciousness, different persons, become wired into the same body. Because there's these core elements of what makes a person, and they just don't fire together in the brain, and they continue developing. Oh yeah, it could be child states of consciousness don't experience the hormones from puberty or present day. But we've practiced this, so it's not as scary. I'm allowed to be curious about this adult face that's staring back at childhood subconscious neural pathways. Instead of stimulus just getting processed in relation to self, there's no self to observe the stimulus, and the stimulus is experienced as aspects of the self. Protector state of consciousness, there's no sense of self, and instead stimulus is a very all-consuming sensation. I found a note on my phone that I wrote on September 4th, 2019. I have absolutely no memory of writing this, and discovering it was quite a shock. The Kristin I was wrote, "Not having a sense of time is normal. Not having a conscious concept of what my body looks like or what it's feeling is normal. Not having an explicit idea of who I am right now is normal. Not being able to stay connected with my body at all times is normal. Oxygen deprivation is normal. Because it's normal, we don't have to worry about it. Having racing thoughts and intensive highs and lows of energetic vibrational experience is normal. Misconjugating words is normal. Not being able to feel your hands or feet is normal. Experiencing seemingly painful muscle spasms is normal. Sporadically losing your eyesight is normal. Feeling chest pains that feel like heart attacks is normal. Having your brain's ability for object identification shut down every day is normal. So don't worry about it. Don't react. Observe and proceed without a reaction. Reverting to the neurobiological perspective of a child is normal. Accompanying it will often be implicit flashback projections from childhood, especially through subconscious language like perceptions. Create space, be alone somewhere with light and without other environmental stimulus, to observe that experience without feeding any unconscious reactions. Consciously respond through presence only. Not naturally having an ability for self-witnessing is normal. Picking up sound frequencies most people don't hear is normal. Living in a kaleidoscope of a being projecting a sensational reality is normal. Forgetting basically everything is normal. Emotions activating parts is normal. Forgetting about aspects of life beyond the singular experience of a moment is normal. Experiencing life in fleeting fragments is normal. Thankfully, your normal physical reality has absolutely nothing to do with who you are or why you're here, so don't worry about it.
Have compassion for the experience and recenter in your heart's vision with your soul's purpose using the third eye of your mind. Experiencing multiple panic attacks every day is normal. Continually feeling like you exist in the same moment without a concept of the passing or passage of time is normal. Transitioning from euphoric bliss to suicidal ideations in half a second when triggered is normal. Switching states of consciousness with amnesic barriers is normal. Not identifying with your own body is normal. Questioning your own existence is normal. Since it's normal, you can let it go. It's nothing to worry about or focus on. Simply love yourself through the experience, accepting all that is, and redirect your energetic focus towards the spaces you desire enhancement and growth. Struggling to breathe is normal. Losing consciousness with forward motion is fairly normal. The note continues, going on, listing a variety of very unique and painful experiences, describing them as perfectly normal. And because it was normal, it was all allowed. This space of radical acceptance and unconditional presence and unconditional love created healing in the most impossible spaces imaginable. Part of the ending of the note is not recognizing yourself in the mirror is normal, but this doesn't have to be normal forever. It's simply where you are in this growing season of life. God has planted the seed of Kristin in this place for a divine purpose. It's not your job to figure out why. It's simply your job to trust.
I believe that the core of trauma recovery is creating new body memories that provide healing experiences.
Happy Tangible Tuesday! We spend way too much time in our minds as human beings. And that's really not where our power is. Our mind has a lot of limitations, even within our own self-awareness. Our mind has a lot of limitations. But when we can get into our body and be present with our sensational feelings, we actually reclaim aspects of ourself and aspects of our power. And that's a beautiful place to be. Because then we get to witness everyday magic on a whole new level. If my mind was busy and I was focused on that, I never would have noticed these magical ladybugs. I never would have had this opportunity to just have a renewed sense of presence with my day.
This is an example of our two brain hemispheres. Both produce beautiful flowers, yet each holds their own unique qualities and attributes. And within, beyond what we see, lie the neurobiology of our two brain hemispheres. We just did our circular first version of the Personal Dimensions meditative mirror exercise on Freedom from Fear Friday, Freedom Friday. It was like a really good vibrating, tingly feeling that started in my inner ear and extended inward into my lower parts of the brain, and then extended downward through my spine, and then went all the way down to my legs. So there was almost like a shudder, but like a tingly, good sensational feeling shudder, almost like when you're getting tickles. Instead of it being in one location, it's going through my entire nervous system, and I could feel my muscles relax, and I could feel my mind slow down, and it felt like my eyes wanted to close and not wake up. It was like a full body relaxation feeling as we did this exercise. Normally there's a lot of shifts or so much going on and then nothing, and it's hard to track the observations, but we're all together right now, and so we can kind of track things a little bit better and articulate things better. And there's something legit going on. Light rays. Something legit going on through this exercise, and I'd like to explore it more. The other fascinating thing is how when it was in the upper right, I can see two faces. Sometimes I see 3 eyes, sometimes I see 4 eyes, and sometimes I see 2 whole separate faces with different eyes. This is something very real, and it's something that my brain is doing, and I'd love to find out what it is.
So the inner ear is all balance, particularly connected with the 8th cranial nerve, which is the vestibular cochlear type thing.
Scary that we can't remember. The specific thing is like how it's very much implicit sensations. Like I might be able to remember a single texture or smell, but I can't remember the fact that I was a person having a physical experience. Like the explicit translation of those fragmented pieces.
I just want to be able to do what I am.
That's what I'm going to do. A little bit.
It's fine. I don't want you to go feed and stuff, too.
No, it's okay. I get it. You've come a long way. We've still got ways to go. And I'm going to be here for you. Well, we've come a long way from where you were, remember? Well, maybe not. Considering the last conversation.
Not really.
When you first got here, you were like 33 different people, and like you all had individual memories. I had to introduce myself to you like 16 times.
That's weird to me. It makes me confused to hear.
But that's what happened.
How can it doesn't make sense to me.
And that's okay. You know, we've had a lot of stuff going on.
I don't want to.
Well, yeah, that's why we're here.
I don't want to.
You don't want to pass. Okay, fine, I get it.
My theory is that my experience of consciousness, core aspect of it, from the times when we were not creating explicit memories, was due to the flow or lack of flow within the cerebral spinal fluid. I'm sitting here, I'm having this dissociative experience. I'm not a real person. My thoughts are fragmented. I'm having a hard time observing them. What my eyes are seeing aren't really connecting with what I'm feeling in my body or what I'm experiencing in my mind. My body is struggling to understand itself because this stuff really only makes sense when we're perceiving it through that mental interpretation of awareness. And so my body's just kind of out here on its own. And I recognize these things, and it's very easy to slip into a place of judgment. And so instead of trying to push through, instead of trying to get over it, instead of trying to go around it, instead of trying to rely on something else, I just needed to create space to put language to the experience and hope that I could find my way back to reality. And it's taken years to cultivate these experiences. It's a practice, and practice is part of our power. It's one of the 10 components of personal power. Using tools, using mediums to make somatic sensational contact, because the somatic sensation can connect with subconscious parts through the unconscious states. To have the conscious awareness observing these sensations through the unconscious states, it's bringing those 3 states back together. Your mind, your eyes, and your body that are separated, having these separate experiences start to be united again. It would be a gentle yes or no, like, can you choose where your eyes are looking? Do you feel like your mental processing understands what your eyes are seeing? Kind of just things to bring awareness to the experience in a non-threatening way, and in a way that can just be a yes or no, not requiring an in-depth answer, complex answer. Because words can be really hard in dissociative experiences of consciousness. And so after that description and processing through the experience, through presence, came back over and we were able to do some chanting on the grass, so grounding, and vibrations with gentle somatic contact. And that experience was able to reconnect my mind, body, and visual sensations, the 3 things that had become disconnected from one another. And the most profound part of that was being able to see colors again. Like I wasn't even I couldn't consciously understand the colors I was seeing. And so when that comes back, that's a very vivid experience. Like colors suddenly exist where they didn't for quite a while, but you didn't really know that because there wasn't language to the experience of it.
And I create space to take radical action, not from a place of stress and needing to get things done and overthinking, but from a heart-centered space of a desire to share my truth with the world. I create space for infinite magical energies of love and light and miracles to flow through me and help rewire my consciousness so that the truth that a part of me knows is a truth that all of me can know. I create space to be who I am even when I don't know who I am. I create space to show up even when I am terrified of showing up. I create space to speak even when I have no idea what I am going to say. I create space to acknowledge the story so that they can be intertwined into a new story of healing, hope, health, prosperity, infinite potentiality. I create space for my story to change the world. And I create space to release attachment from the outcome so that I can just be raw and real and full and present and embodied in the experience. We can only perceive a few aspects at a time, and we are so infinite, so expansive. We cannot grasp our totality in a singular moment, so stop trying. I create space to make more magic. I create space to share more love. I create space to speak my truth even when my voice shakes and my body trembles. I create space to open my heart to new experiences.
Grateful for the melodies we sing. Grateful for the peace that they can bring. Grateful for the never-ending song of the soul that sings us home.
Staying heart-centered is really what life is about, though. And the things that we do from our intellect, from our mind, should only be inspired from heart space. Because if we leave our heart space, then our reason for why we're doing the things we do becomes lost, and then we're just human doings. We're not human beings. Our heart space is how we know that we are a being. Our heart space is our true identity. Our heart space is the root of all miracles in our consciousness. Our heart space is the one place where we can use our mind to observe our body and spirit and bring all three components into unison and harmony. When we can bring the sensations of the body and the emotions, we can allow for the presence of this like raw spirit flow human essence to be there, and use the mind to observe and respond consciously to the heart space, and really just bring all components of ourselves, our consciousness, our experience, our sense of identity into the union with the oneness of our heart space. That's where magic happens. That's where we heal. That's where we find our wholeness. That's where we find our wholeness. That's where we find the permission to embrace our perfection, because we are perfect as we are. The perfection we often judge ourselves against is an illusion. True perfection is what we are. We already are that. We just have to remove the subconscious programs based on survival energy rather than thrival energy, fear energy rather than love energy. Once we rewire those aspects of our neurophysiological applications of consciousness experienced by subconscious parts, then we can step into the wholeness that we already were, already have been. We couldn't perceive it. And because we couldn't perceive it, it was difficult to embody it because we were busy embodying a perception rather than the truth. Ah, divinity, flow through me. I am one with you. Divinity, flow through me. Teach me of all that is good and true.
It feels like the me that I am inside is a different me than the me that I am seeing. The me that's like thinking and feeling is different from the me that's speaking, and the me that's speaking is different from the me that is processing, like listening to the speech and seeing the self who is speaking. It all feels like it's separate. It looks like two different people having a conversation to my mind. Two completely separate people I see. And neither of them are me. The me that's observing this inside is not either of those people that I'm seeing. And it's not because I'm crazy. It's because the neurophysiological applications of my consciousness developed through division to cope with traumatic stress. And the development of my neural pathways never made the natural connections, so they made their own unique connections. Perspective of self is divided within its neurophysiological development of my consciousness.
Difficulty finding words because emotional flares can block the access to language centers, alter auditory processing, alter visual processing, and I'm feeling everything, and it's really intense. We've been trying to put so many pieces together, and we kept doubting ourselves because we couldn't find a scientist talking about these things. But we were right all along. We just didn't have the specifics in place. The concepts we were absolutely 100% accurate on. Facial muscles, auditory processing, visual processing, memory processing, blood flow to the brain, blood flow to the brainstem, oxygen flow, respiration, the endocrine system, the digestion system, muscular engagement, blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen intake, emotions, facial engagement, all the things. They're all directly connected to the autonomic nervous system, and it's completely explained through the polyvagal theory, and I believe it explains adaptable consciousness condition and or dissociative identity disorder. You found it all along. Oh my god. I feel like my aspects of self are connected, like the serious parts and the playful parts have the ability to communicate and collaborate. Like, it doesn't need to be one or the other. Like, they can both coexist simultaneously. All can be present because our nervous system is finally regulated. I can recognize myself. Oh my god, I'm not afraid of my face anymore. Not afraid of my face anymore because it's mine and not just like some weird illusion of a self that isn't me. The consciousness in my cerebrum and the consciousness in my cerebellum operate as separate modalities of personhood. That's my working theory. Just a theory.
Chronic dissociation robs me of the specificity of my physicality. Life becomes a hazy mirage collage of energetic sensations that may or may not be the accurate interpretation of reality in any given moment.
1. Physical body that you see. 2. Separate brain hemispheres. 3. Separate experiences through consciousness. 4. Divided brain regions. Many people inside of me. Infinite reasons to believe in miracles. We are the evolution, revolution, and we are hope rising.
And in those moments of happily ever afters, we realize that we don't need to wait till the end of the story to find what we are looking for. And we can create happily ever afters in everyday experiences. It's more of a choice than we know. We have infinite power in our entire lives through the magic of each and every moment. We are allowed to daydream. We are allowed to play with the energies within us and around us. We are allowed to find new ways to express our truths and heal and transform the stories that are being told inside of our bodies and inside of our brains. Your experience and your identity are two entirely separate concepts. They are not synonymous. They have nothing in common. They are completely separate elements. They happen to have a relationship with one another, but they are two separate entities entirely. Your identity and your worth have absolutely nothing to do with what you have gone through, or what you are going through, or what you are feeling, or what you are thinking. Because a lot of times it's difficult to shift the immediacy of choice. If we have been feeling icky for quite a while, it will be a tough habit to break.
I've been me all along, I just don't have a memory of it. What?
there's all these different perceptual potentials of who I could be, and it doesn't make any sense about which one I am, and my perceptual awareness of decision making feels like infinite and impossible simultaneously. Like there's an infinite amount of options, and making a decision, choosing only one, feels impossible because I can't, like my brain can't get to a place where it understands like who I am to make the decision. And it's just like such a unique exhaustion. And my theory is that it's connected with the memory system stuff. Like I was trying to remember memory system, like that moment, like the experience of trying to remember is like, with my brain feels like stuck, like it feels like it's stuck, it feels like stuck, like it feels like stuck. And I
I just want to love you louder and louder and louder until all you can hear is my love.
I'm really intrigued by the whole implicit memory creation and projection, because it kind of seems that the unconscious memory system is what's conscious, and the conscious memory system is rarely accessible. And this was our like original theory, like 2 years ago, was our inside out theory of consciousness. Right. Implicit projections, there are times where a big thing that happens is we'll look at something, and instead of it being a new moment where I'm looking at that thing oriented in time and space now, my orientation in time and space dissolves, and I remember every time I've ever looked at that thing.
Some case study notes. I am always so fascinated by how my sense of self is not naturally accessible. Like when I look in a mirror and I see who I am, or when I watch a video like I just was, the perceptual awareness of experiencing myself is always a shock. It's always a surprise. It's always a fascinating, baffled feeling like, that's me? The sense of connection with my internal world and my explicit self is so non-existent that observing my own being is always fascinating. If I talk without looking at myself in a mirror, there is no physical sense of self. I'm just a voice. And I'm the perceptual awareness of a voice. But I am not a body. But if I look in the mirror and I'm like, that's who's talking right now, then my sense of self is more unified and it's less anxiety provoking to talk. My mind cannot distinguish between moments. If there's a moment that's being remembered, then it doesn't make sense that that's not the moment that's happening right now. And it causes a lot of anxiety. And it's something that my brain is doing. It's something that my brain is doing where my brain cannot distinguish between moments. My brain does not naturally distinguish between moments. My internal reality does not have an understanding that remembering something is separate, is different from the moment that is happening now. Yeah, it's happening right now. That's so fascinating. What's going on in there? Aspects of my consciousness are having different experiences. It's all about bringing everyone into a present moment experience and being present with what comes up in the process. Like if there's
a memory projection, then unblending and saying, I am not my memory. She is not her memories. We are not our memories. I am allowed to be in the power of the present. She is allowed to be in the power of the present. We are allowed to be in the power of the present. I love myself unconditionally. I embrace all aspects of my life experience. Chirpy little waves, huh? Chirpy little waves. It's all allowed. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the experience. I love just being here observing such miracles. So, yeah, just some case study notes. It's kind of cool stuff. The big part of living with adaptable consciousness condition is a disconnect within the memory systems. The present tense me does not have a natural point of reference of existing in relation to the self that has been. So I have to manually connect present moment me with the past moments of me, who I was a year ago, who I was 5 years ago, who I was 10 years ago, who I was 20 years ago, in order for there to be any kind of sense of self. The sense of self is not naturally, innately accessible. And my theory is that it's because of the division of memory systems. Closing my eyes really helps me focus. And my theory with that is because I'm disconnecting the visual stimulus, which I believe is processed in the right brain hemisphere. Right brain, I mean, it goes through both brain hemispheres, but the right brain is very visual. And so cutting off the visual stimulation, my theory is that it allows for increased language access in my left brain because they're not having the same communicative connectivity of consciousness simultaneously. And so reducing what's happening over here helps me have access over here. That's kind of my thought, because I always have so much better clarity of thought, mind, and I open my eyes and everything's clearer. I can see clearer. Myself and my world feels more real. So on that end of the spectrum, there is an increased ability to process new experiences. This aspect of consciousness understands experience through a collage of experiential sensations from past memory data. This aspect of consciousness is much more capable of having new experiences, where the present moment is the present moment. Both hands rubbing. That's a good sign. That means there's some kind of connection going on. That's good. Like when both sides of my body are doing something simultaneously, it's always a good sign.
Yeah, too.
Yes, you. This is a right-brained aspect of consciousness having its own separate realm of experience from other aspects of the neurophysiological applications of consciousness. And then over here, we've got the other experience that's separate. External world, physicality actually feels like physicality. Things don't have the massive amounts of connotations and emotional triggers and past memory projections and stuff. Everything's present moment. It's physical. It's happening here and now. It's happening in the external world of experience. That's always a good sign. That's a sign of my autonomic nervous system relaxing. I never yawn when I'm tired. I only yawn when my nervous system is relaxing because something within the things that are causing dissociation are being soothed, which often happens when I put language to these indescribable experiences of consciousness, which is why I'm so grateful for this case study as a tool for healing. Case study as a tool for healing. And so this aspect of consciousness is having a totally different experience from that side. Completely separate experience of consciousness. How it works is the activation of switches and shifts has to do with neuroceptivity in relation to not just danger, but optimal social survival. And so the neuroceptive aspects of the unconsciousness are surveying the landscape not just for danger, but for social engagement opportunities to enhance optimal survival. And so my brain scans an interaction with a person and goes through these unconscious processes of evaluating, is this person a threat? Is this person a danger? And that could be something as simple as, like, is interacting with this person wasting my time? Like, it doesn't have to be like a physical threat, but like a danger for any form of optimal survival. And then obviously other forms of danger and harm or whatever. But like, it can be something as simple as wasting time could alert alarms of this person's not. Comes back to the approach avoidance, implicit procedural body memories, making 80% of decision making beyond all conscious awareness and control. It's all about the unconsciousness evaluating danger and opportunity, approach and avoidance. And within that, the perceptual awareness of the details and ramifications of that decision making. And so, do I approach or avoid this person? And why? Or what does that mean to the relationship of my being or sense of self? The consciousness shifts its engagement based on the perceptual awareness of optimal survival. So if the person's not a danger or a threat in any capacity, then there's no need for avoidance, and approach becomes a particular. But then it's, do I approach this person because they're a family member? Do I approach this person because they're a potential mate? Do I approach this person because they're a peer and this is a casual encounter of just wasting time together or whatever?
I've been experiencing what I believe would be a left and right brain experience independently, and to be fully lucid and fully present and have all amnesic barriers broken down so that I can observe both fully consciously and compare notes between the realities is truly a profound trip. My theory is that my consciousness experiences my brain hemispheres one at a time, most of the time. It's so wild. So my theory is that my brain hemispheres house different persons, and my theory is that this would show up on an fMRI scan. When I'm in what I would describe as a right-brained experience of consciousness, everything is energetic, everything has connotations, everything has feeling, everything has dynamic depth. The visuals are so stimulating, a greater sense of dimension to it. Like, the dimension of experience is amplified in my right brain. This is like the most profound experience of a lifetime. When I'm in what I would describe as a left-brained experience of consciousness, I don't have emotions. Left brain, I'm great at getting stuff done. I'm great at moving around in this physicality. It's all very robotic and automatic. Like, I think about doing something and I can just do it. There's no feeling. Step-by-step things make sense. The linearity of things makes sense. The process of things makes sense. And in the right brain state, I can dream limitlessly, but I cannot do diddly squat to make it something in physicality. Like, this seems like the most overwhelming, daunting thing in the world. Like, I will dream up worlds of worlds of worlds and teleport to multi-dimensional places and have so many experiences in an energetic reality of my own creation of consciousness. But oh my gosh, how do you put a sheet on a bed? My right brain is all about feeling and expressing feelings. A left brain would look at the right brain and be like, oh my goodness, you're out of control. Like, tuck those things in, why don't you? Like, you look ridiculous right now. Like, why are you just like feeling everything and sharing that with everyone? Like, contain yourself. And similarly, right brain will look at the left brain and be like, oh my gosh, you are so boring. You are lifeless. You feel nothing. And there's judgment between my two brain hemispheres. And they both think the other one is ridiculous. They both think the other one is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, that is too epic.
And I don't remember any of this, but it seems you've had quite the adventure exploring experiences of consciousness within your brain hemispheres. You are so cool. I'm really stoked that I get to share time with you, even though I don't remember any of this, but I know that you do, because my body remembers everything, regardless of what my mind can consciously know. What a miracle.
We have this ritual where we record our moments of happily ever after. And so we're filling it out while in a left brain dominant experience. We're just like, this is ridiculous. If I'm going to write something down, why wouldn't it be something related with my goals and being productive? What's with all of this color? This is ridiculous. Like, what do you actually intend to do with this? What purpose does this serve? Or is this just you being silly? Why am I going backwards, reminiscing on the day? Why am I going backwards to focus on happiness and record it in color? This seems ridiculous. And the right brain's like, look at all the happy times! Look at all the color! Another great example is left brain is like, I've written so many incredible things and they're so powerful and my voice deserves to be in the world and I want my name to get really big and I'm going to research all of these awesome publications and I'm going to submit my articles and it's going to be awesome and I'm really excited about this. And then my right brain is like, so many steps. I don't understand the order. This doesn't seem that important or that fun. That's exactly what's happening. I'm trying to figure out the order or whatever. The right brain got overwhelmed, swamped with emotions, and said, this goal is not that important. All I want is happiness now. Left brain is like, I don't care about the feelings. I don't care about the present moment. I have stuff to do. And these aspects of consciousness are separate people. There's separate people in my body. And so imagine two people getting together, and it's like, okay, get this one job done. And they're both like, but we've got different ways of going about it, and different ways of perceiving it, and different everything. Like, how on earth do you expect us to get it done while working simultaneously at it? Like, this doesn't seem possible. The brain hemispheres are different people. This is awesome, and all is well, and all is gravy, and we're allowed to be who we are. I trust the ever-evolving process of my infinite becoming. So what do you do? What do you do when your brain hemispheres are not naturally integrated? You create your own balance of order and allow for a little bit of artistic chaos. So many superpowers. Kristin Windsor and all miracles of consciousness and the Dream Team Collective signing off.
The artistry of existence astounds me. I am forever amazed. I stand awestruck and ever amazed.
You belong among the wildflowers. You belong somewhere you feel free. Let love welcome you home. Let love welcome you home. Let love adorn you with peace and grace. Come be present in this space. Let love lead you home. Let love lead you home. Let love be your guide, freeing everything inside. Let love lead you home. Let love lead you home. Let love lead you home. I am the Hope Revolution. My last fully lucid memory is from May 2017. For 3 years, I was only able to create implicit memory fragments. Even as I recover memories now, they're all in bits and pieces. Basically, my internal sense of self was experienced through independent regions of neural wiring rather than through a unified sense of self who understood each period of my life in a collective way that had led up to the present moment where I was a sense of self. I didn't have a sense of self in the present moment, and all of these different portions of life experience that had created different regions of neural wiring were experienced independently of one another. And then that limited access to a sense of self was then completely disconnected from external reality. It was a complete mind-body disconnect. And so from these independent regions of my neural wiring, I couldn't fully access physical reality. I was not a person oriented in time and space. My sense of external physicality was very, very limited, and I could only get to individual sensations at a time, and even those individual sensations were not processed through a sense of self. So from the spring of 2017 through the spring of 2020, my brain-body system only processed experiential elements into implicit memory fragments. In the past year, my brain-body system gradually regained an ability to process memories. But here's the fascinating part that I'm still piecing together. Even as my brain-body system began regaining an ability to process explicit memories, they were not processed through a sense of self. I had these moments of my life, but because the me in the present day wasn't oriented with all of the me's that have been, the experiences here weren't processed through a sense of self. They were these independent experiences that didn't have connection with any other aspects of me. As I gradually regained an ability to create explicit conscious memories in May and June 2020, one of my first memories was going hiking every day because I needed to stimulate my left brain hemisphere. And so I would go up to these hiking trails and I would hike for 5 to 10 hours every single day while writing a book on my phone. And walking and writing simultaneously helped stimulate my left brain hemisphere. I ended up writing an entire book, like a solid typed 200-page document book. And it was really, really intense because there was one day where I didn't go hiking, and I was like, you know what, I want to give myself a break, a rest. This has been so intense. It's been weeks of just this nonstop left brain hemisphere stimulation. I took like one day off, and the next day I couldn't read, and I was having a hard time physically walking, and I pushed myself through that, and I went hiking, and every like 2 steps I would just break down sobbing because of the brain hemispheric imbalance. And I had to push through it. And eventually I regained a position where I could read and walk again. And I hiked for like 10 hours that day because I was like, I'm not leaving here until I know that my left brain is engaging. And so it's very much something happening in my brain this whole time. It wasn't until September 2nd, 2020 that I started to actually realize that I was Kristin Windsor. I sold my truck named Tilden, who I'd had since 2012. So I had a lot of memories in this truck. Before selling the truck, I drove him up and down the street a couple times. In those moments, I started to experience waves of memory recall, basically. And I was realizing that I had a whole life before this intensive trauma recovery the past few years. I started to actually realize that I was an adult woman, and I had this entire life before I started losing the ability to create conscious memories. It's like my brain was blocking me from understanding that I was Kristin Windsor because it wasn't safe to be that person. I didn't have access to all the types of information within neural data that would allow me to know who I am. Christmas Day 2020 was the very first time that I actually really felt like I was Kristin Windsor. And even now, things continue to heal, and I feel like I get a little piece of me back every day. Each day, encouraging new associations with who I am to continue healing my unconscious body-mind and restore my consciousness to its full glory. During the summer and autumn of 2020, I began writing a book titled Liberated Consciousness, and it explained how to understand and heal unconscious minds in brand new ways using diagrams and practices that I had cultivated these past few years while healing myself and working on my case studies. During those months, I wrote over 1,000 pages. And in that process, I actually didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I see that all of the writing was helping my brain heal. During that time, I could not look back at any of what I had experienced because I would relive it. I didn't yet have an ability to observe it from a grounded position of brand new moments. When memories came up, I could only relive them. And so typing all that time helped my brain heal. In October 2020, I started writing Liberated Consciousness over from scratch, started completely at the beginning. I wrote a 62,000 word manuscript in just a month. The last time my brain experienced an imbalance between the hemispheres was on November 9th, 2020. I experienced left brain fatigue from writing so much, and I rested that day. And ever since then, my brain hemispheres have experienced natural balance, which is the greatest gift in the world. As I was submitting my book to publishers in December 2020, I began to realize something interesting. I didn't seem to have a sense of self regarding the me who was submitting the book. I thought everything was all healed up and I was good to just continue on with the rest of my life like trauma had never happened. It came to the author bio and I was like, what is this? I'm publishing a book. Why do I have to have a me who is publishing the book? That's when I realized I needed to go back and really look at everything that had led me to the process of writing that book. And that's what led me to this adventure of creating this documentary series, an opportunity for me to see everything that had happened to lead me to where I am today. Even though my conscious mind has no memory of these past few years, I've been learning about how my body remembers every single moment. Gradually exploring videos from the past has helped activate disconnected neural data, enabling healing opportunities to further transform my reality from the inside out. And so creating this documentary has helped me kind of piece things together and slowly regain a sense of self. So now when I have an experience, it's processed through a sense of the person that I am today, who understands the persons that have been to lead me to this moment. The other profound aspect of this whole miraculous healing journey is that this is the first time I've been fully lucid since 2013. Ever since then, there's been constant dissociative blackouts and all kinds of unique experiences of consciousness due to traumatic stress trapped within my brain-body wiring. So this is the first time that I am fully lucid for more than a few days or a few weeks at a time, and it is a miraculous trip. Being alive is a miracle. Just existing at all is a profound miracle. Even more profoundly, this is the very first time in my entire life that my mind and my body are fully connected. Dissociation covertly began when I was a very young child. I didn't recognize it at the time, but I now understand the neurobiological core causalities of all the unique experiences that began during elementary school. Now, for the very first time in my life, my mind and body are fully connected and operating completely free of all traumatic stress. I know, it's okay. I know. I know, it's okay. It's okay, take your time. Take your time, baby. I gotcha. I gotcha. It's okay. It's okay. Everything's okay. Everything's okay now. Everything's okay now. Everything's okay. That did happen and I'm here. That did happen and I'm here. I know, right? I know, right? It's okay, sweetie. It's all okay. It's all a part of the journey.
You can't rush your healing. Darkness has its teachings. Love is never leaving.
you. You can't rush your healing. And you shouldn't ever feel the need to try and rush your healing. You take all the damn time in the world that you want, babe. You take all the space and all the time to heal all the things in all the ways.
Adaptable consciousness condition, commonly described as dissociative identity disorder, developed in my life to protect me from early childhood trauma. Because healing that core trauma from childhood was such a big, important part of my healing journey, I would like to provide some insight into the timeline of what that looked like. From November 2017 to March 2019, I performed thousands of hours of self-hypnosis to uncover implicit memory fragments. The core childhood trauma had been gradually surfacing over the years, provoking a variety of symptoms and internal battles. But from November 2017 through March 2019, I intentionally dove into my subconscious or unconscious realms, trying to uncover implicit memory fragments to piece together what had happened. Up until that point, I had no idea that I had experienced trauma during early childhood. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew about this. And so I didn't understand how I could have developed dissociative identity disorder or adaptable consciousness condition. And so I began exploring my unconscious realms, uncovering implicit memory fragments. By March 2019, after a year and a half of daily self-hypnosis, I had uncovered enough fragments to piece together exactly what had happened, when it had happened, and who was a part of it. I finally knew what had provoked my divergent neurodevelopment all those years ago. In March 2019, when I discovered this, everything came to the surface at once. On the day that I uncovered the final pieces of the puzzle and put it all together, I was in a car for a long period of time. Activation of the unconscious implicit memory fragments from the core trauma from early childhood connected with a dorsal vagal collapse then became overcoupled with riding in a car. For the next several months, I lost consciousness in a dorsal vagal collapse resulting in severe oxygen deprivation every single time I rode in a car. Riding in a car was then associated with this core trauma from early childhood. In August 2019, I finally made progress processing these implicit memory fragments.
Even when we don't feel real, we're still real. Dissociative blackout notes.
And it was such a transcendent experience because in the process of uncovering the implicit memory fragments and then slowly rewiring them, I continually relived the core trauma. Pieces of information from that experience over 20 years ago were projected into my current experience, causing my physical body to relive sensations. And I had this profound opportunity to learn about how implicit memories work in a very first-hand way. Because these sensations that were so horrific were not physically occurring, but they felt like it. And to first-handedly witness how implicit memories can project incomplete experiences onto realities of consciousness that cause them to feel like current experiences is just it's such important information. And when we can learn about this stuff, it opens up so many doors for healing and self-understanding. Towards the end of 2019, I started to experience a reduction in the severity of the activation of the core trauma.
I feel like my aspects of self are connected. I can recognize myself. Oh my god, I'm not afraid of my face anymore.
The peak of it was during August 2019, and then I started to create some new neural connections that welcomed home some parts of my miraculous consciousness. In January 2020, I was noticing there was still a lot of dissociation though. What would it take for there to not be dissociation anymore? And that's when I started a brand new period of healing, realizing that it was all about the trauma and the implicit memory fragments that were trapped throughout the muscles of my body, or the mini brains housed throughout the ganglia of my body. Towards the end of January 2020, with the help of my amazing chiropractor, Dr. Luka Music, we were able to discover some physical trauma that had never been discovered from that core childhood trauma. And releasing and relieving that was a big breakthrough in my healing journey. And then throughout 2020, it was a very gradual process of creating new neural connections and brain hemispheric balance while regulating internal nervous systems and other modalities of operations. And so in 2017, I didn't even know I had childhood trauma. By 2019, I knew exactly what had happened. And then in 2020, all of that was getting fully processed. Towards the end of 2020, I experienced a profound moment, and I realized that the only place that that experience existed anymore was in the cells of my body. That story didn't exist other than right here inside of my beautiful, perfect, miraculous cells. And I had a bold moment of forgiveness. And this bold moment continued, and I came back and re-forgave until that forgiveness created new neural connections to heal the original experience. But there was this profound moment of forgiveness where I recognized that the experience only existed in my body. And so instead of it being about forgiving someone outside of me, forgiving the person who did this thing all those years ago, forgiving the event that happened a long time ago, it was a matter of forgiving the cells of my body for holding on to pain that it didn't need to hold on to anymore. And that process of forgiveness and letting go was a big step forward towards full trauma recovery. During this process, it was also processing other traumas from adulthood. There were 2 sexual assaults and 2 physical assaults and other traumatic experiences that were processed along the way. The core trauma involved molestation when I was 4 years old, and I forgive it. It's not something I ever need to hold on to. It has absolutely nothing to do with who I am or what I'm worth. It never did. And by letting go of it and creating space to forgive the cells of my body for holding on to pain that they don't need to hold on to anymore, I get to liberate myself in new ways over and over and over again. New liberation, new expansion, new freedom, new wholeness, new happiness, new health and well-being. I am never defined by my experiences, and neither are you. What began as a seemingly impossible mission gradually evolved into the victory of a lifetime. Through my independent research and self-healing endeavors, I discovered core causalities of all personal experiences and implicit battles. In just 3 years, I successfully transformed and fully resolved chronic intensive battles with anxiety, panic attacks, multiple phobias, traumatic stress, flashbacks, depression, suicidality, suicidal ideations and multiple attempts, bipolar disorder, nervous system dysregulation, complex division of memory systems, fragmentation of self, identity, and memories, severe amnesia, unable to remember my life or formulate new conscious memories, oxygen deprivation, discovered through my case studies, caused by chronic dorsal vagal collapse, requiring 700 hours of self-administered oxygen therapy in 1 year, substance addiction and dependency, self-harm, insomnia, night terrors, ADHD, obsessive compulsions, dermatillomania, over 4D types of dissociation that I personally identified during my case studies, including a total mind-body disconnect where I was unable to recognize myself in the mirror or feel associated with my own physical body. Selective mutism, where I chronically lost the physical ability to speak. 2 types of aphasia, body dysphoria, dozens of psychosis-styled experiences, disrupted attachment development, malnutrition, eating disordered action patterns, including binge eating, severe body tics and tremors, and mini stroke and seizure-styled experiences. More importantly than shedding skins, I healed into my true self. I am the presence of my breath, and I am the love of my heartbeat. That is all I ever want or need to be.
Swam through northern lights, I soared through neon skies. Everything was beautiful, everything was magic, and I realized that my pain was not ever tragic. Awoken from within, healed through divine love, transcended time and space to discover dreams above. Relentless tender space, pouring vastly from a high vibrational reality. Sets me free, and deeply heals me. It sets me free. I am free. Danced through the stars, I sawed them down, danced among them, ice skating all over town. The sky became the ground, and there I found a door that opened and the possibility, reminding me just how deeply free and expansive my being naturally is, freeing me, liberating my inner kid, so we could dance together across the northern sky. skies, slipping across the neon lights. Everything was beautiful, everything was magic, and I realized that my pain was not ever tragic. It opened up my heart to receive a deeper abundance of who I truly am. Shadow meets the light, integrating all aspects of myself, incorporating everything inside. This is a place of freedom. It's not just a fight, because high vibrational reality is a true soul divine, that it deeply heals me. High vibrational reality is a truth so expansive that it sets me free. I am free. I am free. I am free. I am free. Nothing about my experience could ever change the truth of my consciousness. Nothing about my experience could ever change the truth of my consciousness. I am pure love, miracles and light, and this truth conquers everything else inside. I am pure love, miracles and light, and this truth conquers everything else inside. I am pure love, miracles and light, and this truth now conquers everything else inside. The high vibrational reality sets me free, deeply heals me, sets me free. I am free. Swimming through the northern lights, soaring through the neon skies, lasso down the brilliant stars and slip them deep into my eyes.
I just want to love you louder and louder and louder until all you can hear is my love. I love you, Kristin Windsor. I love you deeply. I love you infinitely. I love you unconditionally. I love you in every breath. I love you in every heartbeat. I love you for the being that you are. You are beautiful in every moment, and all I ever want to do for the rest of my life is love you louder. I want to love you so loud that all you can hear is my love. I want to spend the rest of my life learning how to love you louder. I want my love to shatter every pain you've ever known. I want my love to ignite a deeper hope than you have ever felt in your heart before. I want my love to burn up every past experience so that you feel empowered, like the phoenix rising from the ashes to sculpt brand new experiences, because you deserve an extraordinary life. And all I want to do is love you until you feel worthy of that extraordinary life. I love you, and all I want to do is love you more. All I want to do is learn how to love you more. All I want to do is love you louder. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do for the rest of my life. Will you please let me just love you for the rest of my life? Because that's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. I just don't want to do anything else. All I care about is loving you. All I care about is loving you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being here. You bless me in every breath, sacred being.
I'm lucky as fuck just to be in your presence, Kristin. I'm lucky as fuck just to have the opportunity to love you.
You're just all I need. You're just all I need, my sweetheart, my precious beloved, my beautiful angel.